Well, hi guys, you catch up with me at home for once rather than on the riverbank. It's actually Tuesday the 16th today. I'm sat at home, it's like 10 o'clock in the evening or something. Little ones have just gone to bed, it's all gone a bit quiet, so I thought I'd do a bit of editing. And just started doing a bit of editing, and I thought I haven't put anything out for a while. It's been a few weeks, what with the river conditions and everything, things haven't been great, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a catch-up video because I have been out myself. I have been doing some fishing, and over the next few minutes you'll see why I haven't really been in a massive rush to to get anything on YouTube, because I haven't been doing very well, to be honest, with the river up as it was. I think the last time you saw me would have been the video when we had New Year's Day morning, fishing the floods when the river was right up. Didn't do any good with me if you've seen the last video. If you haven't, check it out. River was right up, really banging through, really flooded. Tried fishing all the slacks, didn't do any good at all. Since the river's gone down, actually, it's down almost to normal now. I've gone and had a look actually how far up it was, and I've noticed there's actually a marker board right next to the lock, and I've actually stood next to the posts as well that were almost submerged in the water, and it was 6.5 foot up. I'd guess between 6 and 7 foot, and it was actually 6.5 foot up at its peak, below the weir, below the lock. So yeah, it was well up. So that was the last time you saw me. The next time I went out was the Monday, the 1st. So the next time I went out would have been the 5th. That was a Friday after work. The river was still up. It had only gone down about a foot by then. Went out for the evening to do similar sort of thing, but what with it getting dark fairly quickly, I couldn't do too much roaming about. So I went below the weir again, and I thought perhaps we'd do a bit better fishing into dark. I fished a couple of pegs, and I settled into the one with the big long slack that I'd fished, one of the pegs I'd fished on New Year's Day. Settled in there, but unfortunately no bites. So all this time, it's not that I haven't been catching fish as much as not even getting bites. I mean, I've said lots and lots of times that we should go over things over and over again. I have fished the river when it's up, this river, many times, and to be honest with you, I've pretty much given up till this year, because it just doesn't fish. It does not fish at all when it's up and coloured. But you know, this year I thought I'd try a few different things, you know, fish in the slacks, do a little bit of different stuff, but it just wasn't working. It was a cold night as well. I think I went home at something like 5:30. My stuff was all frozen to the ground by the time I went home. But we didn't do any good. I tried everything, all really smelly baits. I even tried some lamprey, pieces of lamprey for the chub. It's primarily targeting chub, but no, nothing at all, nothing doing. So the next time I went out would have been, it was a Sunday. I decided to do Sunday evening because the river was dropping, and as it was going down quite rapidly, I thought rather than do Sunday at dawn, I'd do dusk, because the river would have gone down even more. What I decided to do as well, because we haven't been doing too well below the weir, below the lock, I went up above it, and I thought let's try somewhere completely different. I haven't fished it this season, and if you've seen any of my videos, if you look back to the ones where I was pre-baiting right at the beginning of the season, I thought I'd drop in there. Now I have nicknamed that place Otter Alley, because it's the first place I ever saw the otter, and also it used to be really good. It used to be full of fish, and it seemed to have tailed off and there'd be fewer and fewer fish there, so which is why I deft it out at the beginning of the season. But I thought I'd drop back in there because there's one peg, there's only a couple of pegs in there. There's one peg there with a bush just to your left on the inside. It sticks quite far out into the river, and the Avon here is very deep in the edge, goes right down, very deep, right in the edge. So I knew there's decent depth, 4 or 5 foot under this bush, and there's also a big tree on the other side. I've had shove out of it in the past, and even tench. And I thought I could fish one rod near margin, one rod far margin. So I went there for the evening, just for a couple of hours really, just as it got dark. So I settled in there, took some worms, usual smelly cheese paste, stuff like that. But again, absolutely nothing doing. The river it'd gone down perhaps another 18 inches, something like that, but it was still well up. But no, they weren't having it at all. Absolutely nothing. The only highlight of the session really, I sat there, it was just about dark, and I was sat there, and there's not a breath of wind, it was silent. And round the corner of the marginal bush, right in front of me, maybe a metre and a half off the water, came a barn owl. Absolutely silent, just literally at my head height. As it came round, flew towards me, just went up maybe about another 3 or 4 foot. Obviously clocked I was there, but it just did a little circle above my head, literally 3 or 4 foot above my head, and flew off across the river to the other side. I mean, absolutely superb, awesome sight. And then went off and hunted in the meadow on the other side of the river. So that made it worthwhile, sitting there for a couple of hours. Again, not even a bite, not a rustle on the quiver tip, absolutely nothing at all happening. And again, I had to chisel all my stuff off the floor. It was a frosty evening again by the time I went home. Again, it's probably 5:30 when I went home. So the next session out after that was Friday just gone, which was the 12th. Now I thought, again, because the river hadn't gone fully down, and I wasn't doing too well below the weir, I would try the private stretch, that big wide bit with that bit of slack on the inside, because there's still fair pace to the river. I thought perhaps try a bit of dead baiting, because we've been trying for chub, and that wasn't working. I thought, let's have a go with the dead baits. I've read online that Zander quite like the coloured water, and perhaps they come out in the day because of the low light due to all the sediment in the water. So I thought, well, yeah, we'll give it a go, So I did that. Took a ledger rod as well, just to do a bit of feeder fishing, just with a really small feeder. Thought might get the bream on the go, because the water temperature had gone up from when it was flooded about 4 degrees. It had gone up to almost 7 degrees. So I thought, we've got a chance of some bream as well. We might catch a few nice bream or something, or even a chub up there. Again, give it perhaps 3 hours, a little bit longer this time, but fished it to dark. But again, absolutely nothing. Not a knock on the quiver tip. Nothing picked up any of the dead bits. Absolutely nothing. So once again, the river's up. It's banging through, even when it's warmed up. Fish are not interested in here. Absolutely not interested. Gone down to 18 hook on 1.5 pound bottom and a single maggot, and you can't even pick up a little roach. It's just, they just switch off. The fish just absolutely switch off. Doesn't stop you trying though, does it? So that then takes us to Sunday evening, which was the last time I went out. Sunday just gone, it now being Tuesday. The river had gone right down, and it's probably about a foot above normal, something like that. Colours dropped right out of it. It's probably about a foot, 18 inches of visibility, and it's gone from sort of tea colour to quite a greyish colour. And I had a walk down in the afternoon. I had a quick look around, and it looked really good, and there was a few fish just dimpling on the top and stuff. I thought, great, the fish have reappeared. We'll have a go this evening. So I took the light ledger rods and I went below the weir, and I actually wanted to fish the swim where I got an absolute soaking in the last video. I think, as I mentioned in the last video, that stretch down there very rarely gets fished. Pleasure anglers, if there are any, very occasionally, it's club stretch, go at the top of the stretch, because it's not very much of a walk. To get down the bottom, you have to go through coded gates and all sorts of stuff, and it's a real pain to get down there. It's really muddy. You need a tractor to get down there to the car park, to be honest. So no one fishes the bottom end, and to fish any further, it's a bit of a walk. It's about a mile stretch there, and people just don't bother. But I wanted to fish that particular peg because I'd been to the local tackle shop and chatted with some local guys. And one of the guys had done the weighing in. He was telling me he'd done the weighing in at the one of the 2 matches that are held there per season. There's only 2 matches ever of a season. and he'd weighed the 2 matches in this year, and he said one peg had won both of the matches. So I sort of quizzed him and said, where is it, which one is it, and I actually talking to someone else, and they showed me a picture of one of the matches of the winning bag of fish, and there was barbel in there, and pretty much unheard of. I mean, obviously they do come out occasionally, but all the people I know, dusk and dawn for the barbel in the Avon is the only time. In the middle of the day, it's absolute waste of time. I mean, guy I know, I speak to, I mention him fairly regularly on here, called Harry, fishes upstream from here, and he fishes all day because he comes from a distance to fish, and he only ever catches in the morning or the evening. So to catch barbel during the day, like when matches are on, it's a bit unheard of really around here, well, to my knowledge anyway. I mean, I'm sure, as I say, they do come out, but turns out that and I was told that the place to fish is in close, because it's nice and deep and the fish tend to get in there. I mean, you take all this with a little bit of pinch of salt, but I wanted to go and see for myself, to be honest, and as I say, I knew where this peg was. So I fished there. I had to walk down. It's about half a mile walk, and I walked down there, and sure enough, that stretch below the weir is only 4 or 5 foot deep generally, but there, right in close, about a rod length, it's well deep, 8 or 10 foot I should think. So I had to go in there. Water temperature was about 6.8 degrees, as I say. Nice colour to it, still some flow to water. It's ideal really, absolutely ideal. Couldn't have asked for better conditions. So I turned up, fished from about 3 o'clock. I got down there, so the bites started. I was getting lots of bites. I had one rod which was fishing, really roach fishing, to be honest, because I'd seen in this photo I've seen as well, there's some nice roach in there. So I had one small feeder on, fishing bread flake. Actually started off on maggots, not a touch. Put some bread flake on, started getting bites straight away on that rod. Striking, nothing, just missing everyone. The downstream rod I had feeder on. I was actually using some sort of roach chubby ground bait, I think Sensa's 3000, top of my head. Something I hadn't used before, and it's quite sweet smell. But only a little bit of it. I had cheese placed on the downstream rod. Fish literally, as I say, rod length out. I was getting some knocks on that straight away. I thought, this is brilliant. I've had a bite for, well, since New Year's, well, before New Year's Day, since Christmas. We had 5 trips without a single bite, and within half an hour I'd had 4 or 5 bites, missed every single one. I had such a hard bite as well on cheese paste rod. The rod nearly went off the rod rest. Picked up, fully expecting it to arc over. Picked up into nothing again. Couldn't believe it. It's so frustrating. And I cut my gear down to absolutely nothing. I hardly took anything with me, so I couldn't. It wasn't a case of tying up some more hook links or changing things, or I was pretty much stuck with what I'd got with me, and just wasn't doing the job. It was driving me up the wall. Couldn't connect with anything. As you've seen on footage, I'm striking and striking. I'm looking back on it, hitting stuff at the right time, but as with chub, it just couldn't connect. I mean, something wasn't right. I know they get away with it quite often, but I've got paste, I've got it on the hook, because I know hair rigging for chub is it's a bit of a no-no, especially in the Avon. They really get away with it all the time, but they were getting away with it. I had very little options to what I could do, but what I've had to do, what I've done since is had a little bit of a think about it and come up with a slightly different rig, which I'm going to try it next time. I was going to try and get out this week, with the evenings getting a little bit lighter. I can just about get home and get to the river before it gets fully dark, so I was going to try and get out this week, but it's forecast to snow tonight. They've gritted the roads, so it's going to be a waste of time. So I think it's going to be Friday we get out again. But I want to try these new rigs out. But that also brings me on to something else, I should say. As a suggestion, or someone asked me if I did a Facebook page they could follow me on, which I didn't do. I did Facebook years ago, but haven't done it for a while. but I thought perhaps it was a good idea, with, you know, undergoing blank sessions and not putting out videos as regularly in the summer. I thought, well, perhaps it's a good idea. You know, I can do a bit of a blog on there, and people who want to know what's going on and what I'm doing and what I'm thinking about can go on there and see what's happening. It's only been going about a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that. I just put a few ideas and stuff, and I've put today actually I've put this new rig I've sort of conjured up in my head on there, which I'm going to try out at the weekend. Anyway, if you are interested and want to follow me on Facebook, then the links, if you go to my channel page on here, just have a look up in the banner at the top. There's a little link to the Facebook on there. And if you follow me on Instagram as well, there's a link there. It's all linked in together. Anyway, we're going to be out again on Friday. Try and actually connect with some fish this time, but at least we're getting some bites now. And it does seem like a really good peg. It's just not very good angling, was it, on my part? I don't quite know what I was doing wrong, but I'm going to change the rigs anyway. Next time we're out, we'll go down there, have another go at it on Friday. So thanks very much for watching. As I say, bit of an update. No fish this time, unfortunately, which is why I haven't done a proper video. But it just occurred to me now as I was doing this bit of editing that perhaps I should keep in touch with everyone. So hope you're all doing a better job than I am, and your rivers are in a better state than this one is, although it is nearly back to normal now and it's started to behave itself and cooperate. So as I say, thanks for watching. Tight lines, and I'll see you again hopefully on Friday with some fish.